Yesterday is gone, so you only have the day. You wanna throw in the towel, you wanna low on your face. Seem like it's too much, you wanna walk away. But you gotta keep going, you gotta fight another day. You gotta keep on going, can't stop here. You gotta keep on going, try your tears. You gotta keep on going, you gotta keep going.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Keep Going, the podcast where we try to change your mind, change your perspective, to change your life, the direction in which you may be headed. We got a very special guest today. I seen this guy. I came across one of his videos. I think somebody actually sent it to me. I just started watching them. It was very encouraging, very motivational. And I was just like, man, I got to get in contact with this guy. He's a pastor at Harvest Church, motivational speaker. Just love speaking about God. I love it. Welcome, Bishop Foreman. How you doing today?
Listen, I'm super excited to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation. Listen, love your energy, love all of what you stand for. Excited about our conversation today. Listen, it's going to be amazing. So glad to be here.
Thank you. Most definitely. So for the people who may not know you, may be seeing you for the first time, who is Bishop Foreman?
So you know what? The people's bishop. That's what they call me. I love people. I love the people that I lead. I love pouring into the lives of people. I've been that way since I was a kid. We pastor Harvest Church, Harvest Church, that church, which is here in Denver. Then we also doing a new location in Atlanta. Then online, which is actually where our largest reach is. The majority of people connected to Harvest have never been in a building. Our database is like 11,000 people, and a majority of those people have never been in a building.
Wow.
So awesome. This year so far, just last night, actually, we hit over 1,600 people that have given their lives to the Lord just this year alone. And so to God be the glory for all of that. But, I'm a pastor, philanthropist, do a lot of work in the community. Our foundation has given away over $600,000 to missions, both domestic and abroad. And so we do a lot to equip and empower people. I'm all about people having what they need to do, what they were called and created to the earth, sent to the earth to do. So we do a lot, not just giving people things, but empowering people. Because that old saying, you give them a fish to eat for a day, you teach them the fish to eat for a lifetime. Yeah. So we do both, because some people need to eat right now. And right. But then some people, they good. They just need to know how to eat for tomorrow and so on. And so we've given away, I think, over 200,000 articles of clothing, over 250,000 pounds of food, all those types of things. We adopt families, giving away almost 25,000 toys, giving away over, I think the number is over 4,000 backpacks and school supplies and all that kind of things that we do. So I live my life to give, and I don't do it for my own glory. I do it for God's glory, but I just believe that we're sent to the earth for the time we're needed most, which is now. So people can find me on social media at Bishop Foreman. Instagram finally started showing me some love over these my followers went from like 50,000. I set it like 50 to 55,000 on Instagram for like a year or two. And then all of a sudden in, November of 2022, all of a sudden that algorithm turned in my favor. And so we've seen tremendous growth there on IG and of course TikTok and all across all the platforms. And so one of the most exciting things is when I get messages like yours, where somebody's been blessed, somebody's been encouraged. I try to make it right to the point. Let me give you what it is. Boom, this is what it is. Cut the fluff, cut the fat, get to the meat. Right. And so that just always inspires me. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. You just brought up Instagram. So what is it? Because I love what you do. First of all, what is it that made you bring it to Instagram? Because I know it's a lot of pastors, people of God out there, and not everybody bring it to social media, but I love the fact that you brought it. What made you take that next step to even bring it to social media?
You know what? It's really a great question. It really, if you want the truth, it was a limitation. I believe that our limitations create our greatest innovations.
I love it.
What we can't do makes us focus on what we can do. And so when we planted Harvest in Denver, now it's been 17 years ago, we planted from scratch with nothing. Nobody gave us a piece of toilet paper. And I'm glad they didn't, because it forced us to learn how to take nothing and turn it into something. And whenever you go through something that afflicts you, that's where God will anoint you. In other words, you'll get a grace to do something because of what's difficult. You'll get a grace to do something. Anointing means grace or favor when God adds his super to the natural. So we literally are anointed to take nothing and turn it into something. So my background simultaneous to ministry. I got into ministry. I was a drummer. And let me tell you something. When I started playing drums, I was awful. I couldn't keep the beat. I mean, it was just, but that God only used that as my doorway into ministry. And so fast forward, I was inducted in the Colorado Gospel Music Hall of Fame. I didn't even know we had one until I was inducted in it. I was grateful for that. And then, eventually a pastor, associate pastor, and then senior pastor and bishop and all of that, which is basically a pastor, two pastors. And so, but simultaneously, I was in business. So I started my first business when I was 12. And so when I started my first business, it didn't, I called it an enterprise. It was my enterprise. And it didn't do well. I was 12 years old, just excited. And I helped pioneer this business loan program for this bank here called Young Americans Bank. In fact, they have this little thing they call Ameritown, where basically students in middle school, high school, they come and they learn different crafts and trades and skills and like live life. You got to have a checkbook, you got to manage your money, all of that. They still have, to this day, from when I was 12 years old, they still have my picture. You have to walk past me to get up to Ameritown. And what I thought was so cool about that is, like, God said, I've anointed you in this area, and every person in this city that goes into that bank, they're gonna have to walk past. I thought that was significant because it's been a long time, and they still got that same old picture from when I was
Right.
12.
Right.
To your point of what made me bring it to social media, so in my business background, we did a lot with marketing. I was the director of marketing for a very large modeling and talent agency in the city, actually in the nation. Their sister company was Elite Model Management, so they did people like Tyra Banks, Naomi Campbell, like they're the company that put them out. So there was a lot of marketing in my background. Well, starting a church in Denver, it's 46 out of 50 for lowest church attendance in the nation. It's 4% African American. So there's not a lot of ethnic or racial diversity. So I said, God, we're going to have to get creative. So that got us into using social media, using apps, using online platforms. Before the pandemic, we were doing that because we said we can't only depend on what's in this area. And that's revelation for those that are even watching your podcast, is that for many of them, they're bigger than their zip code. And if you don't embrace the notion that you're bigger than the area that you're in, you'll let the area that you're in box you in, and you'll be like a whale. I don't know if y'all remember Free Willy, but that Free Willy TV show with or not TV show, but the movie. You remember Keiko the whale and how his dorsal fin was humped over. His dorsal fin was humped over like that because it being in captivity, he couldn't be free, so his dorsal fin humped over. And what happens with orca or killer whale, when their dorsal fin goes like this, they begin to spin out of control. And for some people, your limitations, they haven't created innovations. They've sometimes they'll make you begin to become self-destructive because you're like, there's more, but I can't seem to do it where I'm at. But that's because you're bigger than where you're at. And what gets us from where we're at? Social media.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You said something, and I want to backtrack because you said back in Denver, as you said, 17 years ago,
Right.
you started. But what I always try to explain to people sometimes is when you follow like somebody you may see as a great leader, things such as that, you see somebody with a vision, somebody with a plan, somebody
Right.
who's ambitious, somebody who's going to keep going regardless. They have
Mm-hmm.
purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to talk a little bit about vision, because it seemed like you was a man with a vision, like you had a vision. I want you to tell me where did that vision come from for you?
Oh, this good. You're in my lane. Like this is my bread and butter. You're in my lane. I love it. So you know what it was for me? I was born in Denver, reared in Memphis, South Memphis. For those that may be familiar with, it's called Orange Mound. Orange Mound. If you're familiar, a lot of the music groups that come out of Memphis, particularly on the hip hop side or what have you, they don't talk about South Memphis because South Memphis was the hood. Now, back in the day, immediately post-slavery, it was the highest concentration of black wealth in the nation. But as true with many areas in America, they are intentionally set up so that areas that are minority heavy, those areas are deprived of what they need, and so those areas begin to atrophy. That being said, I didn't see great men in my life. My stepfather, who passed away about a year and a half ago, he was like Ike Turner. So what I saw was an abuser, a cheater, a womanizer. I saw a man that when I looked at, I used to say, God, like this cannot be manhood. This is not what it could be. When I met my biological father, I saw a man that settled. I saw a man that didn't reach for anything. I saw a man that was negative. I saw a man that was a complainer. So I didn't have great examples of manhood. So the man that I am is a man that God built. And it was because I decided. I literally used to remember as a kid, because while I had a stepfather, my mother was really a single mother
Mm-hmm.
because he was always in and out of jail, in and out of some trouble, in and out of whatever he was in. And I remember telling him years later, I said, "You're so smart, you're stupid." I said, because the man could sell ice cream to an Eskimo, and an Eskimo would think he got a good deal. I mean, he could sell rainwater to the doggone ocean, and the ocean be like, "This is an amazing deal." Like he was a genius. He was a genius. He was just very intelligent. And so, what I tried to do was, because you talk about vision, is I saw myself being a curse breaker. I saw myself being a statistic breaker. I saw myself saying, I see some of the struggles and some of the challenges that I have been brought up in, but that I don't want that for me.
Right.
I don't want to worry about money. So I decided to get debt free. I don't want to worry about, am I fulfilling my purpose? So I gave God a yes when I was early. I said, I don't want to, I just want to do things different. I said, I don't want to have to get married 4 and 5 times. I want to be like Keith Sweat, make it last forever. Not knocking those that have gone through some relationship challenges. I was just like, I don't, that's too much. So for me, I always saw myself through the lenses of there has to be more, there has to be greater. And sometimes the only thing you need for vision is that it's beyond where I'm at. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't know specifically what it is. And that's where people get it caught up and messed up. What is it specifically? Well, sometimes you don't need specifics. Sometimes you just need trajectory.
Right.
I don't need to know exactly where I'm headed. I just know I'm headed out of this.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love what you said, because basically what you just told me is you didn't have it around you,
No,
but yet you didn't use that as an excuse to still not go further.
absolutely.
Because I love it, because I tell people all the time that we it's a lot of us that's not in the best upbringing. I wasn't in the best upbringing. I tell people all the
Mm-hmm.
time that my mama was a druggie. My daddy was an alcoholic. Like I was in foster care. I had to go live with my auntie, who was not a good guardian at all. But I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, you can't use that as an excuse that you have to want more out of life. And
Right.
I tell people all the time, when God changed my life, that's when I can see that there's so much more to life than what I've been brought up around. We base it around what we see. So with that being said, what is the importance of having a vision? Specifically as us men, what is the importance of a man having a vision, a plan? What do we just got to say about that?
Great question. Well, one, let me salute you. Just hearing that little bit about your story, because you made that choice. You
Mm-hmm.
saw yourself beyond what you were in. Bible. Let's go Bible. Proverbs. Without a vision, people perish.
I love it.
Cast off restraint. The way I like to view it, it's like getting on the highway, driving 100 miles an hour with no seatbelt, and hoping that you don't hit something, hoping that you don't get into a wreck. That's what life is like without clarity of vision. And I
Mm,
think vision is so essential. And again, vision is very different than the details. And I think that's the challenge many people have, is like, well, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know I don't know what specific. Can I be honest? I didn't want to be a bishop. I didn't want to be a pastor. I
mm,
was doing great in business. My goal was, I'm gonna do business, and I was doing amazing. I built Denver's largest black-owned real estate finance brokerage by the time I was 21. I built my first $1 million business by the time I was 21.
wow.
I thought I was going to do that. And then over the weekend, I watched on TV that industry collapse. It was real estate finance. I watched it collapse. And then I was like, what am I going to do? I said, God, what am I going to do? And literally, you fast forward, the Lord said, I had to shut that down to get a yes from you, because you wouldn't have given me your yes had this continued to prosper. As your business continued to do well, you would not have given me your yes. And so for some people, the vision is unfolding, it's manifold. So God's only going to show you one piece, but then he's got to open up another piece and open up another piece and open up another piece. And as long as you're committed to the fact that I can't stay stuck, I love the whole podcast. Keep going.
Keep on.
As long as I'm committed to keep going, I'm gonna constantly see that there's got to be more. Even now, a lot of people look and they may say, "Oh wow, you've accomplished so much, you've done so much." Oh my God, I'm looking like there's so much more I got to do. There's so much more I wanna do. So much more I wanna accomplish. There's no way that I'm satisfied. There's no way that I am complacent. Grateful, yes. Complacent, no. Appreciative, yes. Arrived, not at all. And I think that sense of vision is what keeps me going. I'll give you this one quick thing. I've lost now, it's like 120 pounds, all natural. Um, I just changed my eating and all of that. Only recently have I gotten to the gym, like since 2022.
Wow.
That's become my new thing. But at the end of the day, it was a vision. I was like, I don't want to be a preacher who's out of breath, breathing heavy because you preaching you breathing so heavy because you're not healthy. I
Right.
said, I don't want to be that. And so I asked God, I said, God, I see myself in better shape. I see myself in better condition. I need a strategy. And I tried everything. I tried slim slow, slim fast, Metabolism Life, protein this. I tried everything. One day he gives me clear instructions. I follow those instructions. I lost the first 75 pounds in 4 months, but it was all vision. It was, I got to see where I'm going. I'll say it like this. Vision is what you see with your eyes closed. And if
Mm.
you have to pick between vision and sight, pick vision every day.
Wow. 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 I love that you said that, especially with that quote, because going back to what you said earlier, you said after the business crashed overnight,
Right.
you asked God, what do you want me to do now?
Right.
And I thought that was wonderful because you could have, I've seen it so many times where when something happened, it don't go our way. We want to cry, we want to pout. It's a big setback. We for the next few months or maybe years, everything is just offset. Like I can't do it no more. Like God, I give up. I tried. But instead
Mhm.
of you using it as an excuse and saying, look, God, you against me and this and that, you
Right.
immediately ask God, now what do I do?
Now,
And
wasn't it?
what now? And I love it. I love it. And I want you to talk a little bit about that because I think that comes important with vision. But I think I did a post today and I was like, I hope you trust in God and you listen to God more than what others got to say about you, what God has to say
Mm.
about you. But that where that came from for you to still just trust in God and just say, God, what now? What it is now? I want you to talk about that a little bit because I know it's somebody right now that's struggling with their faith. They're struggling. Whenever something happens, they forget what God brought them through and
Right.
they focus on just the circumstance and the situation that's in front of them. And I think
Right.
it's important with your vision because things are going to come about. You know, even when you have a vision, God has given you a vision, things are going to happen. But some
Right.
of us can just give up and get, thrown to the side and we just don't know what to do. I just want you to talk about that a little bit.
That's so good. If I like alliterating, so I would say one of the worst things to do with vision is have too much viscosity. Viscosity is resistance to flow, resistance to change.
I love it.
And so one of the worst things that we could do to ourselves is be so rigid that when something doesn't go the way we want, that our first response is, see, I just believe this, Romans 8:28, all things work together for my good. End of discussion. Which means there's nothing that happens to me, everything happens for me.
I love it.
It's the opposite of paranoia. Paranoia says there's a conspiracy in the world against me. There's the opposite of that. The antithesis of that is called pronoia. Pronoia says there is a vast conspiracy in the world for people to benefit me, which means even if what you meant was evil toward me, I have pronoia. It's working for me.
Mm,
So literally, when the industry collapsed, I had just opened a brand new office, just hired 40 new people for that office. I had to shut that office down. And then I had to shut my main office down. Then my office had to move into my home. And so I got these big copy machines and you have fax machines back in that time and all that you had to do. And I just remember thinking, all right, God, well, this is what it is right now. It won't always be like this, but this is what it is right now. What do you want from me next? I didn't have viscosity. I didn't resist the flow. And I think that's where a lot of frustration and aggravation comes in, is that we're resistant. We think because it didn't go to our plan that something went wrong. Question, if it's his plan and he doesn't tell you the whole thing, then how do you get to tell him what went wrong?
wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Good.
how
That's
do you get to
good.
say things aren't going right? According to who? It
I
ain't your
feel it.
plan. Like,
Yeah.
so, nothing's going the way I want it to go. Well, okay, but then why have a God if you're going to do it all, if you're going to be the one that does it all yourself? Like, why have, God means source. Why have a source if you're going to be the source? Like,
Wow.
why have somebody that get on the cross if you're going to get on the cross all the time?
Wow.
And so for me, I had to realize none of those things were going wrong. That was just the plan.
Right.
Nothing went wrong. It's this sense of entitlement that I think we sometimes have. Like, it's supposed to be like this. I deserve this. I'm supposed to have that. I'm supposed to have this. And I just didn't have that. And frankly, don't have that. To me, literally, as that was happening, and literally, think about this. $1 million business did multiples of millions in volume in terms of our loan volume. And here I am. I got two of my guys. We're moving furniture up and down the thing, up and down the building, and all of that, and putting boxes and files and cars, and just doing all this kind of thing, simultaneously in ministry. So think about it. I was a faithful giver, a tither, a seed sower, and this happened. So I could have easily been like, God, how you gonna let this happen to me? And I'm giving faithfully. Well, my giving was working because He had something bigger in store. He had purpose in store.
Mm-hmm.
There was something bigger. I needed to learn all of that business stuff, but that was part of my journey. So I say to everybody, with that vision, don't let your viscosity stop you. Don't resist the flow. Like when things don't go the way you want, be like, okay, all right, God, well, what next? What am I supposed to get out of this? Somebody exits your life. Everybody leaves me. Or they just fulfill their assignment and now it's time for them to exit.
Right.
You don't keep construction crews at buildings once the building's built. So could it be that certain people have only been in your life because they were like scaffolding? They were supposed to help you get to a certain point, and that's it. And once the assignment is over, then God's like, okay, they can exit. And it doesn't have to be bad blood. It doesn't have to be I'm angry or mad or frustrated. So, for me, that I just learned to be okay. God, what next? What next?
I love it.
What next?
I love it. And looking at that, hearing the vision. So in our life, we have different roles in our life. And your vision in that spot might be something, but then with your family, it might be something else.
Right.
I don't know, as a friend or whatever that looks like. How
Mm-hmm.
does vision play different roles in different aspects of our life, would you say?
Great question. Great question. I think about it this way. Vision is going to look different predicated from the seat you sit in. So as a leader, like I'm a big believer that the best leaders are great followers.
Mm.
So I am a great follower. I'm a man in authority, but I'm a man under authority. And so my seat as a leader is different than my seat as a follower. So my pastor, my man of God, if he needs anything, I don't care if I don't have the time to do it. If I hear that there's a need, it's going to get done. Literally, as we're getting ready to record this, I'm interacting with this office because there's something that they needed done. Now, he's got a staff of hundreds of people. He's got a team. But if I hear that there's something that's needed, it's going to get done. So when I sit in that seat, that vision is different. The vision for how I serve him is I want to make sure I'm the type of follower that I want. Now, as a leader, that's a different seat. So as a leader, my seat is, all right, I need to make sure I'm creating a culture and an environment. That's one thing. When you talk about family, that's a very different thing. Vision is going to be different predicated upon your seat, just like life is different if you're sitting on a plane. If you sit at the front of the plane, what you'll see is very different. You're going to say, ain't nobody on this plane. Well, that's only because you can't see it because of where you're seated. But if you go sit in the very back of the plane, you get to see everything that's happening. That's very different than if you're sitting in the cockpit, because when you're the captain and you're the leader, you see things that everybody else doesn't see. So they may say, why are we dealing with all this turbulence? But that's because you could see that there were some birds that if you didn't avoid them, you were going to crash the plane. So vision is always going to be different for each seat, which is why I always encourage people, like, do a vision board. Keep it in front of you for all the areas of your life, and not just a vision board that's just something you do like on a yearly basis. I surround myself with vision. So if you were to look right now, this is my in my home studio area. You see all these lions and gladiators, and there's an ox down. That's an ox. That's a brass ox right there. Deuteronomy 22:10 says, "Thou shalt not plow with an ox in donkey together. It reminds me that I'm a different class and I need to operate in a different way. An ox is a special designation. There's a globe down there. There's lions all over here, gladiator stuff. What am I doing? I'm sorry. There's a picture of the Roman Colosseum right there, which you can't see on the video. Why? I surround myself with things that reinforce vision. I surround myself with things that reinforce who I am. I surround myself with things. There's a plane, there's this stainless steel, almost like sculpture that I have that's in this room here. And it reminds me to keep it moving, like keep going. That's what it reminds me. Whenever I feel stuck, frustrated, angry, I look up and remember this plane has to keep moving. So I don't care how mad I am, how angry I am. So it's different to predicated upon the seat, but create an environment of vision. Like just make everything around you something that inspires you. That way you don't have a lot of time to stop going. You're going to do exactly what your podcast says. Keep going.
I love it. I love it. I love you. You just said something, and it really sparked something for me when you started pointing out everything that's around you. And it remind me of this quote. It said, "How you do anything is how you do everything."
Oh, I love
And
that.
the reason I love that so much because when I try to explain to people, you have to the person that you say you want to become, you have to become that person fully.
Right.
And because if you say you want one thing out of life, but your actions and everything that follow look something
So true.
completely different, then you have
So
to ask yourself a question: is that what you truly want? And when I seen all of that, it shows me that you have fully immersed yourself in the vision, in the things you say you want out of life. And
right.
I think that's really important. And I love that. And a question that I love that I want to ask you is, what is the role that you play in your vision?
Great point. So, so here's I'll say it this way. My responsibility is to be both the captain and the passenger.
Mm.
I'm the captain because once I get the instructions, it's my job to make it happen. But I'm the passenger because I don't make my own instructions. So, I think that's the important, and that's sometimes the issue some people have is like, you hear people, especially who grew up in church, they say things like, I'm waiting on God,
Right,
in this
right.
passive
Yeah.
posture.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's passive, like I'm just standing back waiting on something to happen.
Yep.
But really, that word, Isaiah 40:31, the word there, waiting, it literally means actively serving. It's like a servant that's a waiter at a restaurant. I'm actively serving. I'm waiting on like a servant.
Mm-hmm.
Which means I'm doing everything I can do, and God's doing everything I can't do. And so it's I play both roles. So my responsibility is to get the instructions, but then my responsibility is to execute the instructions. And so I'm both the captain of the plane, but then I'm also a passenger in the plane, recognizing that at the end of the day, I take my instructions from God, and that's a freedom that you have, because then you don't have to spend so much of your life, Lord, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Lord, what am I supposed to do? Is I just take the next instruction. Like this Atlanta project. We're doing a whole new church location in Atlanta. Can I be honest with you? This has been the greatest faith journey in a while for me. Because I'm good. I don't lack anything. I'm great. Harvest Church is a debt-free church. Bishop Foreman is a debt-free man. I like it that way. I like empowering people. Technology has made it so that I can sit right here and reach thousands of people, and I ain't never got to get out this stool. And so, doing this new location is something that it's a faith journey, but it's an instruction that I got. So, with the frustration coming, like, God, I'm doing what you want me to do. At the same time, God, there's moments where things can be frustrating. I'm like, but you told me to do this. Like, I didn't even ask for this. I didn't want to go to Atlanta. I wanted to go to Miami, if you want the truth. This was not my idea. This was your idea. But I recognize that it's a freedom. I just do what I'm told.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be a strong man. That's not weakness.
Mm-hmm.
That's meekness. And meekness is submission. Submission is strength. It's not weakness. It means I yield and submit to the will of who's greater than me. And I trust that what he wants is superior. And that doesn't make me a weak man. And that makes me a strong man. The strongest man is the man that can take orders. The strongest man is the man that can take instruction, not the man that rebuffs it like he's above it, but the man that can say, yes, sir, even though I don't understand it, even though I don't like it, even though I may not want to do it. I learned to just give, again, back to the flow, to give God a yes. So sometimes I'm the captain, sometimes I'm the passenger. But what I don't do is doing nothing is not an option.
I love it.
Sitting back passively waiting, that's not an option.
Right.
Again, I'm gonna keep plugging your podcast. I gotta keep going.
Keep going.
So doing nothing is not an option.
I love it. I love it. It's interesting to hear you say that because I remember hearing people sometimes they were like, I'm waiting on God to give me this job, and it's like, what, did
Mhm.
you put the application in for it?
Correct.
Like did you do the work to get the job? You
Right.
want that?
Right.
Have you did the things that's the certification that they're looking for? Did you put the work in? So I love that. Because I think sometimes I see so many people sometimes that use God as like an excuse to be lazy.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and it's
Yep.
and it's crazy because I remember for me when I first came to know God, I fell in love with the book of Proverbs because it was
Wisdom.
really showing me like putting the work in,
Yep.
and I loved it because I was like, okay, wow, because because before I came to know God, I was like in the streets, so I had like this hustler mentality,
Mhm.
this and that. But when I came to know God, I first thought it was like, a sense of like, oh, I'm just waiting on God. I'm just going to sit here and wait, and whatever God has for me. And it's like after reading Proverbs, it was like, man, God has blessed me and equipped me with so many things already. Um,
Right.
I did a post one time and people were confused and was like, so what are you saying? And basically all I was saying is that there's some of you right now that you still say you're praying and you're waiting on God, but God has given you everything in your prayers that you asked for. He's
Right.
given you it already, and yet you still
Right.
haven't done anything with it. And then we
Right.
get mad at God and say, "Oh, God, I've been waiting on you," and He already gave it to you. But sometimes you might have to get out of your comfort zone to go experience it. So
Correct.
I love that you said that. Like that was big.
Can I just throw this in on what you said?
Hey,
I love the way you articulated that. And I think that's the frustration that many Christians have is that we have been taught that he's really a genie and not a God. And there's a difference.
mm,
He's not a
yeah.
genie in the bottle where you rub him the right way and then you can just that's not who he is. He's our God, not our genie.
mm,
So a genie does everything for you.
mm.
A God is the source for you to get up and do everything that's in you.
I
And there's
love
a total difference. And so the fact that he's my God, it just means, to your point, the Bible says he's given us all things pertaining to life and godliness. So everything I need, I already have. It's within reach. What I need him to do is to tell me what to reach for, when to reach for it, how to reach for it, how to make those different parts reach together. Like the reason Harvest excels in some ways, and to God be the glory for all of that, is because of my business background. So God didn't waste anything. He said, I need you to have this business background. I need you to know this. I need you to know structure. I need you to know strategy. I need you to be able to reach in political realms. I need you to be able to influence policy so that way you change the laws that impact the people whose lives you lead. I need you to know how to navigate through this. I need you to know how to go from the boardroom. I need you to know how to then go up in the spirit. I need you to know how to speak business, but I need you to know how to speak Holy Ghost. I need you to know all of it. So, because what I do in you and through you, all of that's going to be required. Like what I wanted to do, I wanted to go into politics. I wanted to go into law. And that's what I desired to do. And God said, I don't want you to be a lawyer. I don't want you to be just a politician. Instead, I want you to be the kingmaker. Who you pray over and who you bless, that's who I'll put in the seat. I
Wow.
want you to make the policy that influences the lives of people. And you get to do that from behind the scenes, and you never have to deal with the bullets that come with that being a target that comes with that. When it comes to all of those things, again, I at one point I wanted to be a teacher when I was a kid. I wanted to be a teacher, and so okay, we built Harvest Bible College, the only degree-granting theological institution in the entire state of Colorado. You can earn your associate's to doctoral level degree, and now it's nationwide. Well, where did that come from? Because of all of these different things. So he gave me everything. He gave me everything I needed. That's like run that, work that, make that happen. David, you're gonna be king. But first, we're gonna deal with some lions. First, we're gonna deal with some bears. Then we're gonna deal with some giants. Then we're gonna deal with some crazy people like Saul. Then we're gonna deal with people who are supposed to be there for you, and it doesn't go that way you want. Then all of these things are necessary part of your journey back to your vision but you got to be open to the fact that I'm going to give it to you in stages,
I love it. I
not
love it.
not all at one time.
I love it. So can your vision change or
Absolutely.
okay? So your vision.
Absolutely, because vision, what I think values don't change, but I think vision changes all the time. because of where you sit from, right? So it's my belief. If I always I like watching these shows about planes and plane crashes. I know it sounds wild, but I'm infatuated with it because there's so many leadership lessons. So I will sit up while other people are watching, whatever. I'm at the gym watching, plane disasters and or listening, on YouTube. And there's so many leadership lessons because the number one reasons that planes crash is because pilots forget their training when they're under pressure. That's the number one reason they crash. It's not mechanical failure. It's not weather. It's because they forget what they were taught when they needed it the most. The pressure makes them underperform. And so many leadership lessons. On the ground, certain things look a certain way. So I have one vision. As I'm ascending, another vision. When we're cruising, another vision. When we're descending, another vision. When it's cloudy, another vision. So vision may change, but the point is I'm always seeing ahead. And I know they're probably tired of me saying it. I don't care. But what does not change about vision is that I can't stay here. I gotta keep going. That does not change. What does not change is that we are not going to stop. We're not going to stop. We're going to be in relentless pursuit of more, of greater, and not just stuff. I'm not talking about cars, and clothes, because you can get stuff and still never. If stuff satisfied people, then once they got stuff, they'd be satisfied. They're not. There's more. Like I want to be a better version of me. So I'm in competition with yesterday's version of myself. So my vision today is going to be different than it is tomorrow because I'm going to look back over today and say, what did I not do well today? What did I not accomplish well today? So I think vision changes, but values don't. Like the substratum of who we are, the word, that's not going to change. There's certain things that, like me, I am a faithful giver. That's something that's important to me because I've watched it work. My first book was about that. So my values don't change. So when it comes to giving, that's a non-question. When it comes to church attendance, like faithful church, that's a non-question for me. That value is not going to change. When it comes to forgiving people, that's a value. That's not going to change. I have to keep going, so I don't have time to stay stuck on you. I don't have time to stay stuck on what you did or what you did not do. I got to keep going. So that's a value. I'm going to forgive and I'm going to move on. And forgiveness doesn't mean I got to let you back in that seat you were in my life either. I can forgive you and just say, stay over there. I forgive you, but stay there. So I think it can't change.
I love it. And I think you just said something very important that people don't realize sometimes. You said, I have to keep going, so I have to forgive you.
Right. Have to.
Like, so people don't realize that if you don't forgive, you pretty much staying stagnant because you're still stuck on that. And it's messing you up from moving forward. And I love that. I love that. You started talking about the planes. I was like, oh boy, I'm getting on the plane next month, and I'm not the biggest plane rider. So it's like,
okay. You're gonna be good. You're gonna be good. You're gonna be good. You're gonna be good. But you know why I like that though is honestly, there's so many lessons. That and to be honest with you, for me, it makes me more at ease when I fly. Not that I was ever, sort of whatever. But there's some turbulence, especially like coming into Denver. There's always mountain turbulence coming in Denver. Always, man. So it's always a bumpy land. Always. I've never had a smooth landing in Denver. But it actually makes me more at ease because I know what to expect. And here's vision. Because I know what to expect, I know what to not. This is good. This is blessing me. Because I know what to expect, I know what not to overreact to.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
You know what I mean?
It's funny that you say that because my first time flying was 2020, and it's going to be my second time flying.
Okay.
And on my way back, I seen these two kids in front of me. It was a little turbulence, and these two kids in front of me, I started to get worried. They were still on their iPad. They was not worried, no nothing. So immediately I told myself, this is new for me, but this is not out of the ordinary. And so I tell people all the time, though I might have a little fear of riding on the plane, I can't let that fear get in front of my vision because I know what God has for me.
Right.
Since I know what God has for me, I know it's going to take me get on some plane rides. And I can't let my fear get in front of that. But I love what you said that because when I seen them two kids, it reminded me that, like you said, you understand it. So though you're not worried because you understand. And when I seen them, it made me, okay, this is normal. This is new for me, but this is
Mm-hmm.
normal, and now I can better understand it. And I love that.
Exactly.
I love that.
That's good. I love what you said about the kids with the iPads, though, because think about it. Bible says we should have childlike faith.
Mm.
They were so immersed in what they were doing. They were like, I don't care about this. And that ministered to me. What you just said ministered to me. They were so focused on what they were doing, the storm or the turbulence or whatever, they were unfazed by it. And I think that's exactly how we got to be. I'm so focused on what I'm doing, I'm not really fazed by the storm. I'm not fazed by the turbulence. I'm good. I'm still working on something. I got it. Here goes to like what, for a 15th time, I got to keep going.
Okay, keep going, keep going. I got one last question for you.
Sure.
So basically, just for the people that's listening, there's somebody out there who may not know what it is to have vision. They
Mhm.
may want vision, looking for purpose, and all of these things. And I will ask one, what is the requirements that you must fulfill for your vision? And what if I don't have vision or feel like I don't have vision? Like, how do I find that?
Great point. You always start with God, and God begins with go, which
Mm,
means once I hear from God, then I got to go. He
mm,
tells Abraham, go to, he gives Abraham a few lines of instruction that changed the whole history of the course of the world. He literally, in one verse, go to a land I'm going to show you. Get out from your father's house. Go to a land that I will show you. I'll bless you to be a blessing. I'll make your name great. Anybody that curses you, I'll curse. Da, 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 da. One verse is thousands of miles of a journey, discomfort, challenges, stress, strife, frustration from one verse. Sometimes what we want from God is not what He's ever promised that He would give us. Is He's not going to give you this step by step, He's not. He's going to give you the next. And He said, go do that. God begins with go. Go do that. Go do that. As you're doing that, then the next step. Go do that. As you're doing that, you know why? That requires faith. Because faith, contrary to popular belief, I hear a lot of people say, fear is the opposite of faith.
mm,
That's not really accurate. Certainty is the opposite of faith.
mm.
Fear and faith often go together. Sometimes you're going to have to do something and you have to do it scared. You have to do it. Peter's out there walking on water. This man ain't never walked on water before. He was expecting to swim. He says, Lord, if it's you, bid me come. He didn't say bid me walk. He said bid me come. Which means when Peter got off the boat, he was expecting to swim because he's a fisherman. He was not expecting the water to hold him up.
Mm,
That was never his expectation because that was never something. Jesus said, come. He didn't say walk. He said, come.
wow.
So God's going to give you the next and then you go. The next and then you go. So if you don't have vision, it's Lord, what am I here for? What am I supposed to do? What was I sent to the earth to do? Because you're sent to be an answer in the earth. Question is, what problem, what question am I supposed to answer? Once you get that, here's what's going to happen. You'll stop being a hater of other people because
Mm,
you'll recognize the question you're supposed to answer is not the question I'm supposed to answer. So I can celebrate others. I'm a celebrator. This is why when I saw your message, I get 300 messages a day. When I saw your message, I said, oh yeah, let's make this happen. Let's do it. I love to do it. Why? Because I celebrate what you're doing. I'm like, keep going. Let's do it. Like, you're in your own space, your own lane, because I know I'm not sent to solve the same problem as you and vice versa. God will prosper you as you do what you're supposed to do. He'll prosper me as I do what I'm supposed to do. So it helps you to celebrate other people and bring the best out of other people because you're not trying to be them. You don't want to be them. You want to be you. He'll make it clear and then you go do it. He'll make it clear, you go do it. And I'd say for many people, one of the best ways to do that, this is me, and I believe this is Bible. Jeremiah 3:15, I'll give you shepherds after my own heart. Going to church is great. What's even better is identifying the voice God's assigned you to and locking into that voice.
wow.
We don't talk about that a lot today because we don't, but we should. This is why there's so many people. We have more knowledge, we have more money, we have more skill, but what do we also have more? Depression, more anxiety, more suicide. We got all this stuff and ain't nobody happy. People got more money than they've ever had, ain't nobody happy. People have more things and free time and work from home or whatever. We have more stuff, but yet we have more internal difficulty. And I believe part of that is because that one simple thing. Going to church is great. That's phenomenal. What's better is saying, God, who is the voice I'm assigned to?
Mm.
Who is the man or woman of God that's going to speak life into my life? And when you find that voice, you lock into that voice. Like that's a practice of mine.
Wow.
Um, and that's the reason I thank God for lots of great speakers and pastors and all of that. That's great. But I said, God, look, I need to know the shepherd I've been assigned to, because what he says, that's what I need to lock into. And that's Bible. Jeremiah 3:15, Jeremiah 23 says, I will give you shepherds after my own heart, so you won't have any lack, you won't have any fear, you won't have any stress. Which means lack, fear, and stress are all connected to not knowing the voice that you're assigned to.
Wow.
So when you know the voice you're assigned to, you can listen to it and be like, I'm good. I know exactly what to do. I'm good. I know exactly what to do. This last week, I went to go be with my pastor. And again, I oversee over 100 other pastors and churches and all of our harvests, all that. But I recognize that I need a voice that I lock into. And no, you don't make a God out of a person. That's not what I'm saying. You don't do that. But what you do is God's given us a system already. And so we live in a culture where there's a lot of coaches, but coaches don't have a spiritual accountability. They don't have to answer to God. We have a lot of mentors. That's great. And these are great things.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to answer to God. Shepherds, however, they have to give an account. That's different. Which means if they out there saying something crazy, they're going to have to stand before God before that. And so coaches are great. I coach a lot of people. Mentors are great. I mentor a lot of people. But what I really think would help everybody, if they're like, I don't know, I don't have vision, pray and say, God, who is the voice I'm assigned to? And when you find that voice may be in your city, it may not be in your city. That voice may be somebody you know, it may not be somebody you know, but you lock in. That principle is why one of the reasons I believe God has been so good to me in such a short amount of time is because I locked in. And when I heard the voice, I locked in. I was like, okay, good, I'm good. I don't need to, I'm great. And so if he say do this, I do it. I don't make a business decision without running it before my shepherd. Sir, this is what I'm thinking about. What say you? Because if you say no, he's assigned me to you. So I'm good with that. And I know we live in a culture where people are like, ain't nobody gonna do that. But maybe that's why culture's so jacked up. It's because can't nobody tell you nothing. And so
Mm-hmm.
anything, I'll end with this. Anything uncovered spoils. And we live in a culture where everybody wants to be so grown, and I'm this and I'm that and that nothing is covered, which
Mm-hmm.
might explain why so much spoils.
Mm.
I'm a believer, this is me, and I don't just teach it. So for those things, he's trying to get people on there. Listen, I got enough people to tell what to do. I got enough people to lead. So it's not that. I've seen this principle work in my life such that, again, I remember going through a time I was so frustrated. And I was like, God, maybe I'm just going to take an early retirement. I said, maybe I'm just going to take an early retirement. And Lord, I'll hand it off to somebody else. I'm good. I got other things that I own, other businesses. I said, God, I'm just frustrated. And you know what I did? I reached my shepherd and said, sir, I'm thinking about this. You know what he said? Keep going.
Wow, wow,
You
wow.
know why I'm still going? Because he said, keep going.
I
And what
love
did God do? God gave me the strength I needed to keep going.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I just wanted to say real quick before we end, you said something that was a blessing. And you said that coaches and all of those things, that if they don't got an answer to God, if they're not answering to God, then, and I remember a family member telling me, she was telling me about a relationship, and she said, well, how do I know when I got a good man? I said, first and foremost, you have to make sure the man that's talking to you is a man who fears God and is after God's own heart. Because if he don't have to answer to God, then he's not answering to nobody. And then how can you trust a man like that? And I love that. I love that. I love that.
Yep.
I know you said it at the beginning, but go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you so they can continue to be blessed, man.
Listen, and again, let me just say thank you again. I salute you. I honor you for your yes to God, having this platform, having these conversations, encouraging people to keep going. Those two words can literally change the trajectory of somebody's life. That's why I wanted to share that, because those two words, when I was in a moment of frustration, ready to reaching thousands of people, successful according to everything, when I was in a moment of just, I'm done. Those two words are why we're on here today.
Wow.
So I just want you to know the power of your yes and the power of even how you obeying God and doing that. You don't know whose
Thank you.
life that's going to impact and change. And so everybody can connect on social media at Bishop Foreman, Foreman. That's Instagram, that's YouTube, that's Facebook at Bishop Foreman. You can go to bishopforeman.com and connect with us that way. You can also go to Harvest Church Church. Connect with us that way. If you're in Denver, we've got a location right here, new location coming in Atlanta. You can check us out there. And then, of course, online, everywhere, anywhere. In fact, a lot of Harvest doesn't live in Denver or Atlanta, live all across America and around the world. And we're a hybrid church, and so people can connect online too. All of that's at harvestchurch.church, and they can connect there and receive the word. But I pray that something's been shared today that's going to help people to keep going.
I thank you. And I hope y'all was blessed by that message as much as I was today. Man, what a blessing it was today. And I hope y'all enjoyed that. But this is the end of the podcast, and we love y'all, and we out.
Love y'all.
Yesterday is gone, so you only have a day. You wanna throw in the towel, you wanna low on your face. Seem like it's too much, you wanna walk away. But you gotta keep going, you gotta fight another day. You gotta keep on going, can't stop here. You gotta keep on going, try your tears. You gotta keep on going, you gotta keep going.